Hello, hello, Stronger Together. Welcome this evening. I'm Janessa Finley with Fiercely Radiant Soul, and I have had the immense pleasure of being out hiking today. Actually, behind these trees behind me are the mountains. So my hair is a little frizzy. I'm still in a tank top, but I am here with you, feeling very, very peaceful and serene. I love being in nature. I'm sure those of you who know me are not at all surprised to hear I've been out hiking. So, um, as you jump in here, say hello and tell me how your week is going. What is the energy that you've been feeling? Any any struggles? Any celebrations? I want to support the hardships, but I want to celebrate with you more than anything. And that's really an important part of the nervous system, which we'll talk more about. I do talk a lot about the brain and the nervous system, and so we'll get into a little bit of that this evening as well. Um, I am going to start off this evening with a question I received not too long ago. It was really, really an interesting and intriguing question, insightful and thought provoking. And I also would love for you to share your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, if you would, on the topic, if you feel called or compelled. So the question was whether or not our emotions have anything to do with our level of enlightenment or being enlightened as beings. And this individual had seen a long discussion board post about how lack of emotions, which I didn't say that specifically, but to not have or be caught up in emotions is a sign of enlightenment. I'm stuttering a little bit because I don't remember the exact word and I don't feel like I'm encompassing the exact word that was in this post. Um, but anyway, I'm sure you're getting the main topic of the question. So, my thoughts on this is that emotions are very much a part of the human experience. Very much. A full range of emotions make us very, very, very human. And that's part of us being here as humans is to experience those emotions and to receive the information that they have. I don't believe that not feeling emotions is part of being enlightened. And I truly believe that it's how we're able to process and deal with our emotions that allow us more freedom and peace and harmony in our experience here being a human. I do tend to question whether or not the individual that wrote that post was perhaps an Enneagram 5, 6, or 7. So, I work with the Enneagram quite extensively. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, real quick, it's a personality typing system. It's our spiritual personality type that is imprinted on our soul. And the 5, 6, and 7s, their default processing center is within their head. And so they think a lot. And because they are thinkers, they do not like to feel. So I tend to question, first of all, the personality and the filter through which the person who wrote that is viewing the world in the first place. Because based upon simply our personality structure and our default programming, we're going to have different bias or opinions or behaviors, beliefs about things such as that to begin with. And the other thing that I think about is detachment, which I am not incredibly well versed with the principles of Buddhism, but I know there's an element of detachment within that practice. And I don't believe also that it is a sign of enlightenment for us to be detached. Now, perhaps this means I'm not enlightened, and maybe along my journey, I'm going to change my opinion. I don't know. I'm not there yet. But where I am currently today, I feel as though we are to embrace everything that makes us human. And I do believe that when, say, someone close to you passes away, there is that loss, there is that grief. And I don't believe that we are to deny ourselves the experience of acknowledging that loss or grief in order to be in some ascended state of mastery that we're striving for. Instead, I think it's important to have mastery over our nervous system, to have mastery over our processing, to have mastery over our ability to walk through life on life's terms with what life throws our way. Life is beautiful and it's on the spectrum with the good and the bad, the hard and the easy, the light and the heavy, the burdens and the joy as part of being human. So, having the tools to walk through that with grace is really where I believe our mastery comes in. And a huge part of that is being able to work with our nervous system. Our nervous system, our brain, like you guys have heard me say in these videos as I talk about how the brain is programmed and what that means. Our brain is truly here to keep us alive, to keep us safe. And when things make us feel unsafe, our nervous system kicks in. And because we typically, I mean, speaking from my own experience and all of the clients that I have worked with thus far, have not been given tools as children to process things, to work with their nervous system, to calm themselves. The ability to even identify when the nervous system is kicking in until it's all the way ramped up and we're in full anxiety or full blown panic or full blown anger, we don't always even tune in on the way up that scale. And we don't typically go from 0 to 100 either in a heartbeat. We miss the warning signs. And that is part of the mastery, is learning what our warning signs are and being able to intervene when the emotions start to come in versus being on the full range of the spectrum where our emotions are hijacking us and we are in an emotional tornado, if you will. So that is one aspect I wanted to discuss because of everything starts with awareness. And the more aware that we are when our nervous system is starting to take over, having those shallow breaths, our thoughts begin to pick up and maybe race. They're less peaceful. All of these things are signs that our nervous system is starting to take over. If you think about how you feel coming out of state of meditation, and hopefully when you wake up, but I know not everyone has peaceful sleep, so that's not a great example for everyone. But where you're at when you come out of a state of meditation, that is truly when your nervous system is completely zen and calm. Now, how close to that level of mastery can we maintain throughout the day? Now, I used to live in a lifestyle of like not knowing what the day was going to bring me, not setting an intention of how my day was going to go, not using any tools to visualize that, to work and process through my emotions. I would literally essentially would wake up every morning and like coming into the day and my body after sleep was like buckling the seatbelt and getting ready for the drive, not knowing where the car was going to take me for the day. And that is one way of doing life, but it's a very disempowered way of doing life. So, real quick, while I'm talking about this, for the couple of you that are on here at the end, we're going to do a little bit of a mindset shift or energy clearing. So, if there is anything that you have been challenged with, struggling with, top of mind, would like some support with, whatever that is for you, feel free to drop it into the chat while I'm discussing the nervous system here, because that will be the next thing. And if you guys have any questions as well, I'm open to taking any questions that you might have. You can drop those into the chat also. So because keeping our nervous system calm is keeping us in the driver's seat, actually driving the car through our day, it's really important to have tools that are going to support us in regulating our nervous system. Now, I'm sure you guys already know I'm a big fan of tapping. EFT, TFT, the natural biodistressing tapping, and the video and the tutorial, but we don't always have time necessarily to walk through a 10 or 15-minute video or tutorial or process when we are starting to notice that our nervous system is kicking in. So today, for example, real life scenario, I was on a phone call and the person I was talking to got some very unfavorable news today that's going to truly impact their life big scale. And it's because it's someone very close to me that I love. I am not necessarily impacted by that directly, but I for sure had thoughts about the situation. Our thoughts trigger emotions. And I started to feel unsettled. And for once in my life, probably thanks to Sammy Joe, Sammy Joe did some work on my nervous system 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it has created such a big, big shift for me in my awareness of when my nervous system is starting to rev up, which is part of my motivation to talk about this because there are so many things that we don't know until we know. And once we notice the difference of it and the shift of it, that's when we have more insight into it. So, anyway, I started feeling unsettled. And with that, I was like, okay, I observed. And I'm like, but do I have to get swept up in the negative emotion of the situation? Actually, I don't. So one of the tools I want to give you guys, if you've not done this with me before, it's really simple. As I was on the phone, I crossed my arms and just tap your arms alternatingly, and it's going to help calm down that nervous system. And this is something that you can do no matter where you are. Really, if you are around people and you think the tapping is a little bit too weird, you can even squeeze alternatingly, and it just kind of seems like maybe you have a nervous tick or body language, your arms are crossed, maybe you're closed off to people. But it's a very simple way to start bringing that nervous system down without going through an entire tapping series for an extended period of time. Now, another great way to calm the nervous system is taking deep breaths, an count of 6 at least in and 6 count out. One of the things that occurs when our nervous system starts kicking in is those shallow breaths that speed up. So simply by taking intentional breaths, deep and slow, you're going to bring that nervous system back into check, calm it, settle it. Another easy way is a hand on the heart and a hand on the solar plexus right above your belly button, and to take 3 really slow, deep breaths as well. And you'll instantly feel that response in your body. This, excuse me, something as simple as your hand over your heart releases oxytocin in your brain, which is something that is soothing and calming. So, the last thing with breathing that I want to share with you guys for the nervous system is the puppy pant breath, or what may be known as a flutter breath. And it's just breathing in and out through your mouth really, really, really quickly as you can. And if you can do it for 3 minutes, that's the recommendation, but it's actually harder than it sounds. So you might only make it to a minute and a half. You can, I promise you, even when you feel like you need to stop, you can make it if you keep going. With many things, you kind of get to that place where it's like, oh my gosh, I need to throw the towel in. And if you make that intentional decision to keep going, then it's no big deal. It's nice and natural, and you push through it into that space of where it gets easier. But that just looks literally like, I mean, it looks like a puppy pant. So doing that for 3 minutes will not only calm your nervous system, but it's going to increase your vibration and trigger a positive emotional response. Usually, I cannot get through that full 3 minutes without smiling along the way, no matter where my state of mind is when I choose to do it. Okay, so with that, we're going to move into this last portion. We'll wrap up with a little bit of mindset work. I've been challenged lately with motivation, experiencing depression, and anxiousness. So, Chelsea, with that, staying in the moment, staying present, that's going to be a big part of bringing the rest, the emotions, the feelings that accompany that anxiety and tension, the depression, the heaviness, the lowness. Bringing yourself back to that state of peace is going to be focused right here, right now. And just taking the one next step, whether that's cleaning something, doing something with your family, whatever that is, just keeping things really small and staying present. Now, some tips that I find especially helpful when I have those struggles. So, today, getting the news that I got, I did sit down and I started to journal a little bit, and I could feel the emotions welling up to the surface for me. And I could also tell that they were not emotions present with the current situation and the news that I received. I could tell it was triggering something older. And so I chose to write a little bit. And as I felt that really bringing stuff up, I chose to dance and just move my body and release whatever it was, just setting that intention. I was letting it go. Taking some of those deep intentional breaths. There are so many ways, oftentimes we talk about reprogramming your brain, being intentional with your thinking, doing UFO holding, holding the front and back of your head, tapping. Like sometimes all of that, even though it works so phenomenally, feels like a chore, if I'm being honest. And so embracing the ways that bring my vibration higher to release those lower vibrations or emotions or feelings has been equally as successful for me. And it comes with a lot of joy, which is something that I've really been focusing in on is how can I bring joy and happiness every day? Even to those mundane tasks that I'm doing that feels like I'm just doing them on autopilot, I have a choice of whether or not those actually bring in something positive to my life. I met with a woman this week on a business call, and she shared with me some challenges she had been having. And she said that she was being more intentional about finding joy in her life. And I feel like that's a really common theme for a lot of people right now, just with where we're at in our journeys with transformation and rest and the ebb and flow of the growth and rejuvenation process. And so at the end of the call, like she was telling me about her business and the opportunities and offerings that she had and the community she was building, and she was glowing and lighting up. At the end of that conversation, I asked her, tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, how much joy did you just feel and experience in this conversation? And she stopped and she's like, oh my gosh, I do have joy every day. I'm just missing and overlooking how it's showing up. And that can be really, really, really powerful. So I invite you to keep it simple and to find those pleasurable things that bring light and a higher vibration in. And once you can get yourself to sometimes just do the thing, right? But when it doesn't feel like work, it's not so hard to do it. Another great tip, Chelsea, that I also want to share with you is finding a motivational speaker, someone that you really resonate with and vibe with. For me, recently, it's been Gina DeVee and the Divine Living podcast, and turning that on, and it always leaves me in a higher vibration and a more positive state of mind and a warmer, higher place of feeling emotionally. And it stops the thinking loops that happen of where I am when I'm perhaps in a mindset where it doesn't serve me. So take some really intentional action, Chelsea, and we'll definitely shift some energy here this right now also to support you. But in your day to day, take those intentional actions that bring you joy and happiness, and not just the intentional action of being the responsible adult who has all these tasks and things that have to be completed. Because when we get too bogged down in all of that, we lose our passion and our zen and our happiness for everyday life. And we all have the right and ability to live an epic life. It is our choice. Okay. So, with that, go ahead and take some deep breaths for me. Intentional clearing breaths. Let's align all of the 7 energy systems that everyone has. Let's increase the energy, vibration, and flow through those energy systems to optimize them to be running for your highest and greatest good. Increasing your vibration, the vibration in your home. So as you come into this peaceful state, that energy radiates out around you and lifts. As they say, high tide lifts all boats, and it lifts those around you as well. Then we're just going to strip away any spiritual interference, that heaviness around us that interferes in our aura with our motivation, bringing any heaviness into our lives. Perhaps that shows up as boredom, perhaps that shows up as the mundane, perhaps that shows up as us running 16 steps ahead into that anxiety and all the things of the future, looking at how where we are right now is not good enough, that we need to be somewhere else, and being somewhere else will always cause us to live in a deficit, in a deficiency, and in an inadequacy. Now, our brain is defaulted to work that way too. So, as much as I would love to tell you that there's a magic wand we can wave and we can stop that thought process, we can support your being, but it's up to us with where we're allowing our minds to go every day. It's just the truth of it. I'm always going to keep it very honest with you guys. So let's clear out and release any of that boredom, mundane energy, depression, heaviness, anxiety, uncertainty. And I also want to share with you guys, let's connect you to the quantum. Let's connect you to the unknown. So working in, the spiritual aspect of our being, all of that is unknown. We never know how things are going to work out for us. That is why we have to have faith. That is where faith comes in. That is why faith is such a huge part of our journey. And for some people, that uncertainty is such a heavy thing and an anxiety driving factor for them. And essentially, what we're doing is saying that we don't trust our spiritual selves. And that is not a unified approach to living. So we have to get really comfortable with that unknown, because our spiritual support and knowing that the universe has our back and is going to make things happen is a huge part of being able to take those quantum leaps forward, air quotes, quantum leaps, have those big breakthroughs, as I like to refer to them. So let's connect you all, take a few deep breaths on that quantum energy, the unknown, the uncertainty, our faith, connect you to faith. And let's release all of the generational programming that we're carrying with us that keeps us in those default settings, that keeps us in the programming that trips us up every day, whatever that is for each person, with the intention that you're holding, whether you're watching this live or on replay, it doesn't matter. So we're setting that intention to release that generational and ancestral programming that's been inherited naturally, but we don't have to keep reliving that forward. So take some deep releasing breaths with that. And for many people, the difficulties that you're having, whether it's the impatience of not being where you think you should be, whether it's the anxiety and the worry, the lack of safety, the lack of security, the fear of missing out on something. There's a lot of personality programming that goes into this as well. And so we're just going to upgrade our personality right now as well. So, whatever part of your personality, that default programming that you have imprinted from what I work with within the Enneagram personally, for you, if you work with some other personality structure that you know better, or your human design, whatever defaults that you have that is a part of your personality structure, take some breaths and we're going to release that. Our personality comes to us inherited both from mom's side, dad's side, and then from this life experience as well, and then soul memory, soul energy. So we are just going to transform that so that it serves you and your soul versus being like what I like to refer to as the Apple iPhone Generation 2. You can upgrade to what supports you right now. And lastly, as we close out, there's unconscious programming that is also outdated, thoughts that don't serve your ability to be motivated, to be focused, to believe that you are worthy and deserving of having dreams, to know that you are living an epic life. And so take some deep breaths and let's close out all of that old, outdated programming. Again, for each individual, setting your own intention so that you can truly be empowered to step forward, another step forward, closer, more aligned with divine, your divinely created being that you are. Because who you are and just being is enough. So feeling that worthiness, that deservingness, that confidence in yourself, to know that whatever you're healing through, you are enough. And what you're going through is not a distraction from where you need to be, it's part of the process. It's exactly what you need to learn to take your next step forward, to serve people around you, to show up as the best person that you can be for your family. And as you start to wobble a little bit or tilt a little bit or get triggered, get anxious, go back to those tools that you have that are going to help calm your nervous system, to keep you centered, to keep you at peace. The more we claim our peace, the more we claim our calm, the more we are the tree trunk during the storm, when the wind is blowing the leaves and the branches and the debris and everything is swirling all around us, the more that we are the tree, the more that we develop our nervous system and train it to remain calm, the easier that becomes. The next time we have a circumstance, it's less and less of a struggle. And quite honestly, I just truly am not available for struggle anymore. That was a choice I had to make. And once I made that choice, of course, I had several things pop up and show me what I needed to heal to truly be able to show up that way. But we don't have to live in a state of struggle. The struggle comes in when our nervous system kicks in, when our brain starts telling us that we're not safe, this is not how life is supposed to be, this is horrible, this is terrible, this is bad. We start making those judgments, and the more we allow ourselves to live in that story, the more of a struggle we live in. So it's a crazy, awesome experience to have that much autonomy and authority over your thoughts, but it does start with being very deliberate in making the decision of how you are going to live, how you are going to show up in your life, what that looks like for you. So, thank you all for joining me here this evening. That is everything that I have to share with you. I hope that you are enjoying your week. I hope you all have a very lovely Labor Day on Monday. I am going to be headed back out to the mountains in the morning for another hike. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'll be posting some pictures along my journey, or maybe when I return, to share with you all. But in the meantime, get out in nature, dance, do whatever you need to do, whatever your soul is calling you to do. The more you say yes to your soul, the less you are going to be struggling and wrestling with the emotions, with being human, because you are going to feel fulfilled and you are going to feel happy. And the key truly lies in saying yes to your soul. All right. Thanks for joining me here. Enjoy your evening, and I'll see you soon.